Hello and welcome to another episode of News of the Week. And these episodes we use to go a little bit into the stuff that is actually in the media and try to find a way to address it and also put it in context to our own ideal investor journey and our aim to actually get to the time freedom point and generate a life where we have enough passive income so that we can actually live without having to exchange time for money. So the thing that I found, and this week I actually did something because it's related to News of the Week. I went into something called Bing Chat. And if you haven't tried it yet, it's basically an outcome of the fact that Microsoft put a huge amount of money into a company called OpenAI that officially in the beginning started out as a non-profit organization. And those are the guys that actually developed what you have probably heard about called ChatGPT. Text AI artificial intelligence system where you could literally go in and ask questions. And the way they did this, there's a whole technology, you can Google it, called machine learning, where you basically go and teach a software algorithm to predict what is the next word in the sequence of words and to learn what the next word and subsequent next words and so forth would be. The developers basically used lots and lots and lots of text of all kinds of different, articles and essays and books and internet content and so forth, and just kept feeding it to the software so the software could learn. And then when it has actually the ability to very highly likely predict what the next word is, it can literally answer questions or write essays. The thing about it with ChatGPT that a lot of people weren't necessarily aware about was that the information that was fed to the software was current up to the end of 2021. So if you would go in and say, okay, tell me what a good value investment in real estate would be right now, it would literally go back and look at the information that it had received till the end of 2021, around sometime the cutoff date was like between September and December 2021. Now, if you think about it, what was the situation at that time? We had relatively strong increase in prices for real estate. So what used to be a good deal in 2019 would maybe not be as good a deal in 2021. We still had really low interest rates. You could get investment mortgages for about 4% interest. The market was really, really tight, and it wasn't easy to find where would you be able to get enough rent for the property you would buy in relation to the price increases that we have seen. Now compare that to right now, the first half of 2023. Now we have very high interest rates. Mortgages go for up to 8% interest. We have not seen any continuous increase in prices, but what we did see is that rents have gone up a lot. And that is also part of the reason of inflation. If you look into the way inflation is currently calculated, at least by the government, 30% of the amount of inflation, these percent numbers like 5, 6, 8, 9% that you hear, 30% of that comes from shelter, meaning like how much does it cost to buy a house or how much does it cost to rent a house or an apartment. So between the end of 2021, when ChatGPT got its last information, and now it is a completely different scenario. You would potentially get fooled if you were to ask the regular ChatGPT to give you an answer. Now, I mentioned Bing Chat that I use to prepare for our episode today. And Bing Chat compared to ChatGPT is in a way what Microsoft got and will keep getting for their investment into OpenAI, because they got the permission to use the technology of ChatGPT, but they connected Bing, their search engine, to the internet. So you can actually ask a question nowadays and you can get an answer that is based on what the ChatGPT system has been taught in the past, plus what it can find now in articles and videos and other stuff that it can access right now on the internet. So when I started preparing for our show today, I asked Bing Chat what were the most headlines, the most often researched information on the internet in the last week. And what it told me as an answer over and over, I tried it a few times, was that a lot of people were talking about artificial intelligence. And so you will see that I'm actually going to show you here a few examples that actually blew me away And I will tell you why I'm even bringing it up as news of the week and what it has to do with investing. So there is, for example, a video or several videos that show you what these new artificial intelligence software tools can do to take either text or take an existing image and then change it with the software algorithms applied to turn them into basically movie characters that you could use in a movie or for a video. And so there are a few examples here of some really amazing looking women that have been created. And it's not just that you have the images that work in 3D, but you can also use text and put it basically into voice. You can give it all kinds of voices, and you can then actually add that to the character or the avatar, as it's called, that has been created. Now, you may have heard the story, which is one of the ones that Bing Chat actually brought up, about Joe Rogan. Somebody went and actually looked at his voice, took some recordings, took some text, and then took some images and fed them into an artificial intelligence engine and created basically little video clips that totally sounded like Joe Rogan and went as far to be so accurate that Joe Rogan himself, when he got these video clips, started claiming and started basically warning people how easy it would be to fall for these fake videos and for these fake statements. Now, why is this important? Because if you think about it, if you don't have a means anymore to know, did Joe Rogan actually say what I see in this video, when the person that you're looking at, that you think you look at Joe Rogan, but it's not really Joe Rogan, and the thing that is being said is not really what he said, but somebody typed the text, that is one thing. He is a podcaster. There's also a video I want to show you real quick here that is showing male actors. What's his name? Freeman, who is actually basically sounding like he has been doing this video himself, but the whole thing is generated by artificial intelligence. Now, how is this relevant in the context of our investing? We are still right now, even though we have this emerging artificial intelligence capability, in an environment where most people who work ethically would probably be willing to put a disclaimer to say, hey, this is not real, this was generated by artificial intelligence, or anything along those lines that allows you, because otherwise you might not be able to, like the Joe Rogan stuff, you will see it's pretty much impossible to say, is it really Joe Rogan or is it generated Joe Rogan? But as long as somebody says, hey, this is just a cool thing that I created with artificial intelligence, that's one thing. What happens if that is taken down? If you just see these videos and statements and audio clips and podcasts and news lines and stuff like that, and it's not labeled generated by artificial intelligence. Now you might say, well, that's kind of fun, and I can imagine that somebody might make a movie. Just go one step further. For us in the investing world, we are dependent on what our advisors tell us. And who are those advisors? If you, for example, say, okay, I need an insurance quote because I want to buy a property, and you call your insurance agent and say, can you send me a quote? And somebody intercepts that and sends you a twice as expensive quote because they intercepted it, but they now look and sound exactly the same like your agent. Same for your banker. Now let's elevate this to the political level. What happens if people actually generate artificial intelligence to make statements and make claims that are relevant for politics? What happens if that happens with your taxes and IRS? What happens if that happens in other parts of your life? So this is right now an emerging technology that is pretty much unregulated. And there are some people who are actually asking for regulation. I want to use this video this week to ask you to think about, how should it be regulated? Because it might be a little bit of time before insurance agents, property tax managers, real estate agents, and so forth are starting to jump on and find all kinds of good and not so good ways to use this technology. But we, as the people who are dependent on truth, on accuracy of data, so we can make good investment decisions, how can we be protected? Now, that doesn't mean that I have a solution for this, because I think there is a balance between we want new technology and new innovation, but we don't want it to be used for malicious purposes. So I am thinking about it. I want to encourage you to think about it. And I would love for you to make some suggestions or some results of your thinking. So if you actually listen to this in a podcast format, please download the podcast. That helps us. and please rate it and comment on it so we can see what you thought about and what ideas you have. If you see this as a YouTube video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please become a subscriber. And please write in the comments, how do you think should artificial intelligence, as it is emerging and can do more and more things? And I hope some of the clips that we shared with you today actually blew you away as much as they blew me away. How can we find a good balance between allowing this to grow and get better and better and help us out, and avoid that it becomes harmful and destroys the trust that we need to be able to interact with each other? So while you're pondering that, I want to thank you for listening and watching. Be well, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next episode.